This is just a short video to show you how to do some of the steps to assure accessibility in a Word document. It's always best to start with a Word document if you have one available. So I've opened this document right here, which is an article for a journal, and a couple of things that you will notice that are very important to accessibility is using the built-in functionality of what they call the styles pane or the different headings. So this right here, this information for the heading is listed as heading 1, and if you go through the document you will see other ones where they have been formatted using a different style, which is heading 2. So what is the value of this? This is not something we routinely do because we just have habits of doing it ourselves. The value is when a screen reader reads this for a learner, it will say heading 1 or title, whichever one you picked. It will say heading 1, Bridging Integrative STEM Communities, schools. And when it gets to the next one, it will say heading 2 and read it. Or you can have title, subtitle, and it'll read it that way. Otherwise, if I did it manually where I just changed the color of the text and made it bold, it would read it as blue, Calibri light text, bold, and read it that way. So having the headings in is just a little trick to learn to make it easier for someone who cannot read it to understand where there is a logical section break in what they're reading. So we have this article, and what we're going to do on a Mac, it's a little different. On a PC, what you would do is click on File, and that window opens, and where you do save and print. And in the middle of the screen, you'll see a couple of buttons, and the second one in the list says Inspect Document, and that's where you find the Check Accessibility. On a Mac, you go to Tools, and it says Check Accessibility. And so now it gives me a list of the things that it says are wrong with my document for accessibility viewpoint. The first one says it's missing the alt text or the text to identify the picture that I have. I only have one picture, so I click on picture 1. When I do that, you see that it has highlighted my picture for me, and it tells me why I need to fix it, and it tells me how I can go about fixing this. And it tells you the easiest way to do it. So what I do is I come over and I have the item selected, and then I'm going to right click, and I want to go to Format the Picture. And when I get over here, you pick the third button, which is Layout and Properties, and you'll see a choice called Alt Text. Now there's a little disagreement on what's the best way to do this, but some people say just type it in the title, then add a more descriptive explanation of what it is. But some of the literature says that sometimes title doesn't carry over, so it's good to enter the information at least in both boxes so the reader always is sure that something will be there. So I typed what this is, and this is the engineering design process that is a model made by NASA. So once I have done that, I go back to my accessibility checker, and you will notice now that part that says I don't have my information for my alt text is cleared. It's gone away. This other one is a little different, and you have to really look at this picture to understand what they're talking about. This is stylized to look how it would look in the layout in a journal. But what they're saying is that my picture 1 and my little text box 2, which is the tiny one underneath it, the caption, they are not in line because this picture was set up to have the text wrap around it in what they call squares. So if you go back over here to picture format and change how the text is wrapping, if I want to keep it in line with the text, you'll see it changed that, and made the error go away. I have to do the same thing with this. I need to click on this and do the same thing. It's highlighted. I go to shape format and I tell it that I want to align the text and I want it to be where it needs to be exactly with the picture, and then the text will go the way it should be. So I come over here and I say text box 2. What do I need to do? To change the object to inline and remove text wrapping, select the object and right click. Point to wrap the text. And I tell it I want it in line with the text, and now it is in the right place, and that has also gone away. And I can move these around, to have a little better visual representation of it, but I don't want it to be where that it's going to be hard for a screen reader. The last thing we have are the references to the citations that are at the end of this article, and it's saying it's unclear hyperlink text. So I click on the first one, it takes me to it, and this is something that you want to think about when you're doing it. Like I said, this is a scholarly article, so do we really want to change this from the hyperlink text we have, since this is not a hyperlink in the body of the document, but one in the references section? I would say that you would leave it the way it is. The screen reader is going to retrieved from https://doi, but most people who are reading a scholarly article would expect it to be that way. And it's the same way on the next one. Most people, after they have heard the screen reader read National Association for the Education of Young Children, will understand that this NAEYC stands for the same thing. Then we have dissertations again. So those are the only 3 things that we have left in our document that they say do not meet accessibility standards. So I'm going to click and close that because now I'm through doing the check. Once I've done the check in Microsoft Word, then I can go to File and Save As and convert it to a PDF document. And then we will go run it through Adobe Acrobat Pro and hope that it will meet all the accessibility requirements for that. So now I've opened the document in Adobe Pro and I'm looking at it and I see that the file converted over and everything seems to look okay to me. We've changed things around. So now we want to check accessibility here. This is a little bit more complicated than doing it in Word. So we go over here, and depending upon which version you have, you can either click on the icon over here where it says accessibility, or if you have a different version, you would click on tools, and instead of having these little GUIs or little pictures of what you want, it would just say tools and you would see accessibility there. So I'm just going to click on accessibility and I'm going to get it to bring that up. So it brings up here and it says, do you want to auto tag the document? But I want to run a full check and I want to see what it's going to tell me that it thinks is wrong. So what I wanted to do is create a report for me. I wanted to do all the pages. I wanted to check and make sure all these things are right. It's not just an image. It's only a PDF. It has been tagged because that's another important thing for accessibility. And make sure the structure makes sense when somebody's trying to read it. That it has a document title, so when someone goes to open it, they'll know what they've opened. And it has appropriate color contrast. So here we go. First thing we do is we come over here and it says, oh, you have some issues. So first of all, the document has 3 issues, and it says Accessibility permission flag has passed. The image only passed. It's a tagged PDF. That's good. But then we got a question here, and it says logical reading order. Is this okay? So I need to know what is wrong with the reading order. So I come over here and click on it, and it brings this up to let me know how the document is going to try to read what there is in this document. So, you know, it looks like it's okay. It starts out with number 1, goes to number 2. Then it says I have number 4. And then when you go to the next page, it starts over again. So it says number 1. And then the next page that you go to says 1, 2, and it shows how it's going to read the order. I believe what's causing the problem is that when this document was written, it actually had a caption under that picture. So it's trying to read that caption and it thinks it's out of order. So now that I have this over here, I tell it, okay, show me the order panel so I can see what you're trying to tell me that you think is out of whack. So number 1 is the title. Number 2 is this. Number 3 is that thing right there that's hidden behind it. And that's what I said is the caption, so that's what's causing the problem. So we know what that is. And then the next paragraph, and then it goes to number 5. So since I've determined that's what's causing the problem, I can click on this and I can tell it that I want to delete this particular item from the structure, and I don't want to have that caption there anymore because it doesn't serve any purpose since we have the alt text there. So I'm going to tell it to delete it. So now this reading order should be okay. Now that I'm finished fixing the reading order, I can go back to the accessibility checker. Whoops, clicked the wrong one. And for logical reading order, I can do a right click and I'll say I'm going to pass it now because I've checked it out. Now the title says it failed, so I want to open that up and look at my title. It says my bookmarks have passed, but my title failed. So I want to fix it. I do a right click to fix. And what I do is I want to type the title in as it says right here. I want to put bridging, whoops, I can't type tonight, bridging integrative STEM communities, schools. And you know, I could, if I wanted to have it as a subject, I could copy it down here, take out the leave as is, and put it down here also. The author is me, and I could put in keywords if I wanted to, but I don't have to at this point. So I'm going to put that in there. That will pass my title. Color contrast is another one of those things that they are still, they're still kind of out on, and the biggest thing about color contrast, I'm going to tell it, I did a right click and told it to pass it. So here are the laws or the rules or the guidelines as they stand right now for color contrast. If the message you are trying to convey is dependent upon a person being able to discern the colors, then you have to be very careful about the contrast of the colors that you present. So if someone who is reading this and does have some sight ability, if they need to be able to discern, like someone with a color blindness issue, they need to be able to discern the difference between red and green and black to get the intent of what you're saying. You need to fix the color. So for this one, this does have red dots in it, or circles. So, you know, it may be something you might want to try to recolor the picture or find a different picture that's a little better, maybe one that's black and white. So these are just things to think about. And since I have hovered over the picture, you will see that the alt text has popped up that we typed in Microsoft Word to make sure it's there. Page content is okay as far as we know, because I don't see anything that says it's not. Everything looks good. Forms, everything looks good. The alt text, it says it has an issue, and the issue is with figure 1. So there again, it's with that retrieved from the nasa.gov, which is the issue that it's a caption. So what we want to do is we can put caption and put some information and say exactly what the caption said, retrieved from nasa.gov. If we wanted to put that there to have some text, and then we look like we're okay. Tables, it appears that we have done okay. Summary, it says it skipped. And lists, it says all the list items passed. So it looks like that everything is okay on our accessibility checker. So now you have a fully compliant PDF document that you can post. So we're going to save all these changes that I made, and it takes us back to the bottom line of what we're trying to do. So we're back at the original Word document, and the bottom line is we want to ensure that anything we post is not going to provide a barrier to understanding the training that we put forward. So I hope this little bit of an introduction to what you have to do to make documents or information that you post online accessible will prove to be helpful to you. As I said, it is not currently required for training or for documents that are posted in a learning management system or in a system where people have to have credentials to get online, but it probably will be before long, so it's just a good habit to get into. So I hope you enjoyed this and learned a little bit. It may be more than you really want to know at this point, but it's always nice to know what's happening out there in the world of documents and training and accessibility on the internet. Thanks.